Hello job seekers, Melanie here with CGL Recruiting, and today we're going to be talking about phone interviews or virtual interviews with Amazon. If you are not looking at Amazon as part of your job search, you may want to consider doing it. They have so many positions open. During the 2020 global pandemic, Amazon, if you look at all of their numbers and financials, has done amazing. And we've probably hit a pretty big shift that we're going to be going more and more to online shopping. And so I don't foresee Amazon doing anything less than stellar for quite a while. So again, this is video 3 in our 4-part series. The first video covered general things you need to know before you're applying for positions with Amazon that will help you put your best foot forward. Video number 2 is all about the assessments, and they have more than one kind. It's important you know how to do your best on those. This video number 3, is talking about if you're lucky enough to get that phone interview or a virtual interview with Amazon. I've got lots to cover in this video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing, follow us on Twitter, connect with me on LinkedIn, give us that thumbs up, and share this information with other job seekers that you think might be interested in Amazon. Okay, so you got a call from Amazon and they want to schedule a phone interview or they want to do a virtual interview. If you are doing a virtual interview, you're most likely going to be requested to do this on Amazon Chime, which is their version of Zoom, GoToMeeting, Teams, whatever you want to call the different ones, Skype, that are used nowadays. So you will need to pre-download that. And the date I'm going to give you right now is going to be fine for whether it's a virtual or a phone interview. Okay, so the first thing is Amazon has a commitment to behavioral-based interview questions. Now, if you don't know what those are, we do have a video that talks about that and the interview questions and how to answer best. I'm going to give you a little bit of a snippet here, though. What they're looking for anytime they ask a behavioral-based interview question is past performance and behaviors are indicative of future potential performance. So they're going to ask you a question like, tell me about a project you had or something failed. How did you address it and move on? So they don't want just a yes or no answer. They don't want to just hear about, well, I did the following. They want to hear about how you approached a situation. And specifically, the way to answer these to get the best response is using the STAR method. And so when you're looking at the STAR method, you're looking first at the situation, then the task, then the action, and then the results. So as you're answering these questions, think about, okay, the situation was I was working in a manufacturing facility when we had a quality issue. The task was, it was my responsibility to get together a team to look at what the quality issues were. The actions are, well, we did an analysis based on the following methodology, and the result is we were able to find the following flaws that caused this and fix it, which resulted in the following, use a metric, result. Now, Amazon is very clear that when they're asking you behavioral-based interview questions, it is going to definitely be ones that are associated with the positions that you're applying for, but they're also going to be ones trying to see how you are in your work style and are you a match with their culture and their leadership principles. So if you have not reviewed those before you go on that interview, you're in trouble. So take the time. Look at Amazon's culture and leadership principles, which is online, before you go into the interview. And if you're really good and smart, take the time to answer knowing that they're going to be looking at through that lens. And so you can tie your answer to their leadership principles. There's a reason they're giving you them in advance. They want to know you're in alignment. What better way than to give them an example when you're answering a behavioral-based interview question that's actually going to connect to that leadership principle? Now, it's hard to think of that on the fly. So what do you need to do, job seekers? Write them out in advance. Think of some behavioral-based interview questions and how you would answer them. It's not so that you can answer it word for word when you get in the interview, but you're more quickly going to bring to mind, okay, so they said they're looking for this leadership principle. I did this project that was a great connection to that. You want to have those examples really quick on your mind and not be struggling in the middle of an interview to remember them. Okay, so the next thing that I want to highlight to you is that they are very, very strong on their leadership principles, but they're also very strong on understanding and recognizing that failure is part of the process. I will be very surprised if you don't get a question somewhere along your interviews that asks you about one of your failures. What they're looking for is how you phoenixed. How did you rise from the ashes and make this bad situation into something where you learned something and made the end result better than it could have been? Throughout all of these interview questions, as you're answering information, remember Amazon also states again and again, they are a data-driven company and they like metrics. So make sure you are being succinct, focused on that data and that metrics. This is not the time to wax philosophical about a million other things and take a circuitous path when you're actually sharing information. Be more succinct in your communications, data-driven, and tying stuff back to those leadership principles. So Amazon almost gives you too much information when you're trying to look at applying for them as a company. There is so much data out there that you really have to weed through, which is why we put these videos together to try and make it a little bit more succinct. I do want to cover some of the things that they do highly recommend that you have with you when you're doing one of these interviews. If you are in an interview, you definitely need to have your resume on hand. Always, that's a given, right? But they actually tell you that they'd like you to have a pen and a piece of paper. Now that makes me think that they may be asking you, depending on the role that you're in, to do some kind of activity or something on that. So make sure you do have that pen and that piece of paper. It's kind of a little bit of an odd request that they would be highlighting that for a phone or virtual interview. So make sure you have it. The other thing is they do like questions. So you do need to have questions prepared at the end of the interview. Now don't focus on questions of when am I going to hear from you or what's the next step in the process. That is specifically, not what they're looking for when you dig through their website. What they're looking for is questions from you about scope of the role, about their culture, about the different interfaces within the organization. So those are the type of questions that you should be considering having ready to ask when you get to the end of the interview. Now, if the role that you're interviewing for at Amazon is a technical role, there is a crazy amount of information out there for you. They will tell you what languages they look at, what software they look at, how they approach it. So if you are applying for a technical role within Amazon, I do recommend you go out and do some research. There's a whole section just for you out on their website that will give you more information about the different things that they are looking for. Now, here's the wonderful thing about Amazon. They do say if you have any questions along the process to please go back through your primary recruiting point of contact. So you do want to make sure, unless somebody has told you, the hiring manager said, hey, here's my email, let me know if you have any questions. Otherwise, they do want you going back through that recruiting contract. But they have a great metric set up that's going to work on your behalf, job seekers. And that is, they like, once you've done a phone or virtual interview, their metric is 2 days that they're going to circle back with you. They will get back to you with some type of answer within 2 days. Wouldn't it be a wonderful world if all companies got back to you within 2 days? And they even tell you, if you haven't heard from us in that 2-day period, give us a nudge. So you're totally good to follow up if you haven't heard in 2 days. Okay, so this next video that we're going to cover is focused on if you are fortunate enough to get that in-person interview with Amazon. All right, job seekers, I look forward to seeing you on the next video. Thanks.